is I teamed up with one of the local and premier lone soldier centers. I live in a place called Ramat Beit Shemesh. Beit Shemesh, as many of you know, is where the famous battle of David and Goliath happened, literally 5 minutes down the road from my house. Beit Shemesh is centered there. In the heart of Beit Shemesh, there is an organization, there is a school called Lev HaTorah. Lev HaTorah has a lone soldier center. It is a gap year program, so it takes boys that have finished high school before they head off to college, and they come to study Bible, they come to study Torah in the land of Israel. And a number of years back, the head of the school, Rabbi Boaz Mori, just realized, you know what, we had this, there's a lot of these young kids who are entering the IDF, and they don't necessarily have that spiritual support. And they wanted to create a spiritual home for them. And he started this program a number of years ago, and we're going to hear a lot more about that program from people who have gone through it, from some of the administration, and really get a sense of that program. So I'm really excited about the program, and then I'll share a little bit some of my own reflections for as far as what I've done in the IDF, in joining the IDF for the past couple of weeks. And then I'll leave it open to questions for anyone who might have any questions. One thing, just as far as a housekeeping note before we get started, this is we are doing a fundraiser over here, meaning this is an opportunity to help out our lone soldiers. And I'm going to put a link right now. So please donate. I mean, I'm going to really without mincing any words over. This is an opportunity for us to go ahead and to show our appreciation to the lone soldiers. And I can tell you, after spending really just a couple of weeks now in basic training and having a bit more of a sense of what happens in the IDF, my sense of gratitude and my sense of appreciation for what these kids do and what these kids go through, and we'll hear a little bit more about that in a couple of minutes, but is really something amazing. So whatever level you're able to, whether it's $10, $100, or $1,000, and there definitely are people in every category on this call, please donate and please help support the organization that we're going to be hearing a bit more about. So I'd like to bring on my good friend, Morty Rapp. Morty has been part of this program since the beginning. And one thing I want to kind of just share, Morty, I just sent you to come join us come join me on stage. One thing I wanted to just share, when one of the earlier, as Morty's coming on, one of the earlier wars that had broken out, I remember as, a number of years ago, maybe this 10 years ago, I don't know if Morty even remembers this, but I was, all of a sudden it was like this battle broken out, and I'm sitting there as a scared American Jew, and I was like, okay, I'm running in the opposite direction. And Morty said to me, "Oh, what do you mean? What do you mean scared to run in the other? We can't be scared. Maimonides writes that you cannot be scared. We go out to war, we fight with everything that we have." And I was like so shaken, so taken at that particular moment that there is somebody who is there, and he was just one of thousands, tens of thousands of people who are willing to run to the front lines and do whatever they can for this country. And that was something that was very inspiring to me, and that I still carry forth with me, even though I'm not going to be running to the front lines, but always an inspiration. And Morty, I'm really grateful to have you join us for today. Hear about the program, hear what you guys are doing, share some of the good, not the bad. I don't think there's much bad, but some of the challenges that we do face. And so thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Rabbi Rami. I appreciate this. I appreciate this opportunity to speak and just share my story. I hope it could, shed some light, some inspiration, whatever it'll be. Can everyone hear me all right?
Yeah, we hear you. We hear you just fine.
All right.
So Morty, we got people from really the four corners of the globe. Literally, Katie just wrote that she's from Sydney, Australia. So we are we're literally projecting to around the entire globe. But give us a sense. What is a lone soldier? Give us a sense of kind of, I guess, where the program came from, and a little bit about your story in the IDF, coming from, I believe, Montreal, right? Definitely Canada. I don't remember if it's Montreal or Toronto.
I'm Toronto. I'm a nice Jewish boy from Toronto.
Okay, so
I
what's
saw
a
some
nice Jewish
Canadians
boy
in
from
the
Toronto
chat also.
doing
Hello to all the
in the
Canadians.
IDF?
Of course, sure. I think I'll give a little chronological story, and we'll get to what Lev L'Chayal is, the lone soldier center here in Beit Shemesh. But my story is, I wouldn't say it's unique, but it's interesting. There were a couple of events that brought me from Canada to Israel to then serving in the IDF. In the early 2000s, I actually had spent a summer here with my cousins who live in Jerusalem. And it was during the second Intifada. And I remember like going on buses with them, and then like hearing on the news like later that day, oh, like another suicide bomber entered on a bus and blew it up, right? And that, I think it was like, this was a year or two after the Sbarro pizza shop bombing, if everyone here remembers that. I mean, it was an intense time in Israel. And like soldiers were obviously put on like this great pedestal because they were putting in so much effort to try to stop these insane attacks from radical Muslims trying to destroy the Jews here. And I remember being here in this country and saying, like, it just doesn't make sense for me to go back to Canada, like finish high school and then just stay there. Like, it didn't sit well with me. So it was, I think by the time I was 14 or 15, I had already decided I'm coming here and I'm going to do this. And then fast forward, I ended up serving in Israel's first fully Orthodox combat unit. It was called Nachal Haredi, or Netzach Yehuda, Eternal Judah the Eternal. I don't know how to translate it. And so that was a very interesting experience to serve in the army. And during that, I think by the time we were done basic training, the second Lebanon War already broke out. And they sent us, can't see Morty on my phone, Elon says. I don't know why.
I see you fine. So you can, hopefully, Elon, you could hear Morty. But
well, anyway, they sent us up north to like go fight in the Lebanon War, and we really had just finished basic training, and that's like, it's very overwhelming for that to happen. I'm going to put a pause in this story for just a minute. I was what was called the classic lone soldier. I came here with no parents in Israel. I was serving in a foreign country. I did not speak the language, at least not that well. It was a classic thing, So, and what does that mean to be a lone soldier? It means that, well, A, you don't speak the language. B, you have such a cultural gap between the rest of your peers that you're doing training and combat with. So it's a lot of hurdles to overcome. But then there's also what happens when you go off base. Now, the average soldier, what do? They're traveling an hour, 2 hours, and they go back home to their families, and their family does their laundry, and their family takes care of them, and their family cooks for them, and their family takes care of whatever their needs are. And what do you do when you're a lone soldier? You're 18, 19 years old. You come home to an empty apartment. You have to deal with your utilities. You have to do all your laundry. You have to go shopping and, stock your fridge. You don't have a lot of time. You're getting 24 to 72 hours off max, and you have to do all of that kind of by yourself. And coming home to an empty apartment, it is such a lonely feeling. I can't even express to you. And we're talking about 2006, right? It's not like the Israeli army had already been around for, 50 years or more. But like, even by 2006, there wasn't a lot of support for lone soldiers. And so my experience was this pride and power of being part of like this amazing army. At the same time, it could be sad, it could be lonely, and it's very, very difficult. I'm going to fast forward. Now I happen to be a graduate. I'm an alumni of the school Lev Torah. I was its third year. Now we fast forward. How many years has it been around? I think we're up to like
21, 22, something like that.
22 years, something like that. now we have this program called Lev L'Chayal, the Lone Soldier Program. It's basically for not just Lev Torah graduates, but also from a lot of other schools around the country, of all these, I guess you'd call them expats who made Aliyah, came to live in Israel, serve in the army. And now there's a program that not only do we house them, we have a building that can house 60 soldiers at once. We stock their fridges with food, so they don't have to worry about that. They have there's like I think we have like 25 laundry machines, and the soap and everything. We provide all that stuff, so it's very easy to do all that. Each soldier gets what's called a papa, which is what I do now for the program. They get a mom and a dad, right? An outsourced mom and dad, a temp, also in Hebrew called an av and aim bite. And our job is to literally have them over for meals, take care of them, bring them chicken soup when they get sick, just be their support system so that whenever they're off base, like they come home to, loving arms. I happen to be a giant nerd and I love playing board games. So like I always get the nerdy guys at my house. So we always play like, 4-hour board games over the Sabbath. And then on top of that, we have every week, we have like a Sabbath kiddush, like a festive, festive meal where all the soldiers come together and we, have some good wine or some good scotch and, just kind of relax and chill and just, share what's going on. And what else? We have four moms and dads, 4 sets of moms and dads divided up amongst the 60 soldiers. And then on top of that, we're there for all these guys as they continue their life in Israel. So it's very often.
Morty, if I could jump in there, what does a week look like in a week or 2 weeks? Because sometimes these soldiers are in for that period of time. What does it look like on a day-to-day basis? The extent of kind of what you're doing. I know what I did, but I obviously did a much lighter service, and so give a sense of like your daily schedule very, kind of briefly.
You're talking about like as a soldier?
As a soldier, yeah. I mean, they're coming home to, they're not just coming home after hanging out, taking a couple of classes and coming back. But like, what are most of these guys? Because they're mostly combat soldiers.
If you've done the combat track in the IDF, here's what happens. Like, if you've ever seen any of these movies about like basic training, it's pretty similar. You let's say the first couple of months of the army, like you don't have a phone, so you don't have access to call anybody. You're doing push-ups, sit-ups, you're running every day, you're being yelled at all the time, and especially if you don't speak the language, forget it. You're getting in trouble also. We're doing, we start at 5-kilometer hikes, and eventually you get to 35-kilometer hikes with all your gear on you. And if you, depending on what season you drafted, you could end up doing those things in the rain and the mud. Can you imagine how brutal that is? Can you imagine
or in the hot summer?
Yeah, both are equally awful. And as you progress throughout any of these 2 weeks, you're doing aggressive physical training and aggressive psychological breakdown. I mean, they really break you down at the beginning to become a nobody. A sir, yes, sir. Thank you, sir. May I have another? It's intense and it breaks people and it weeds people out. Like if you do not have the grit to make it through that beginning stage of combat training, like people fall out. I'll tell 2 quick stories, and these are sad stories, but it's important for people to hear. One was we had a lone soldier from New York who, he came into the IDF with a lot of psychological problems. I don't know how he made it in. But this was actually probably one of the scariest moments of my life. He had gone missing, like in the first. This was right around the time of Gilad Shalit. He had gone missing from one of his posts, and no one could find him. And then it took 10 hours to find this guy, this American dude. And apparently he had ran off, and he had committed suicide. And it was such a tragic thing. And I can't blame the army for this. It was he really had come in with a lot of problems, and he probably should not have been in the army in the first place. But that kind of pressure, like you can imagine, it's pretty intense. I won't share the other story, but that's an extreme version of how intense it is to be in the army. Can you compound that off of doing 2 weeks of such intensity and then coming home and you're like exhausted, you're broken, you're done, and then having nothing, versus what Lev L'Chayal is having all of that like soft landing to be able to like bring you back in.
Right. So at least that you have a place to call home. I mean, I know, again, I had a very light training and I came home and it was like at the end of you come home for Shabbat and you're here with your family and everything's taken care of. But on the flip side, the camaraderie and what you gain from that, give us some of the like kind of the highlights of like, I just know for me that, final, what they call the Masa Kumta, the last trek that you go on as a unit till, when you finish your basic training. I mean, talk about that. Talk about some of that, or another highlight that you had.
Sure. There's an amazing American expression, the brothers in arms, right? And I think probably any soldier in any army probably feels, I want to hope at least feels that way about the soldier that's to their left and to their right, taking that collective responsibility for the people around you and accomplishing amazing feats of both physical and psychological, triumphs is an unbelievable thing. I mean, doing the Masak Kumtel, which I don't remember how much we did, whatever it was like, let's say it's like 25 kilometers. What's that in miles? I don't know. Maybe it was 30 kilometers. Do the math in miles.
Yeah,
I don't know.
but it's about 15 to 20 miles with 100 to 150 pounds on you as you're walking.
Yeah, I don't know. Was it 100 pounds? I don't know. But at a certain point, the end, like the last, whatever it is, 4 or 5 kilometers, you put one of the guys on a stretcher. And sometimes it's like the heaviest guy. So you have like a 300-pound dude on a bunch, and everyone's holding him on a stretcher. And the weight of that digs into your shoulder, like to the point where like you could even have like blood dripping, and like you're just pushing, you're saying to yourself, like, I could do this. And then when you need someone to switch, when your legs start to buckle, you like yell out loud in Hebrew, Chiluf, almost like a cry, like someone switch me. And like the next person comes and takes over, and you're just pushing until you get to the end, and you don't give up. You just keep going, and you like hit that final milestone. You push to whatever it is. Like different people like go up a mountain. Some people, I don't know, whatever, like go down into a ravine, and you get to this, like eventually you get to this, what's called like the ceremony, where you're covered in sweat and blood and tears. And like on that day, you get your beret, and you're like, you are now like a combat soldier. Congratulations. And like, you look around at all these people who have probably exhausted every last piece of energy that you have. This is like probably a great Gatorade commercial where it's like, replenish your salts. And everyone, like, it's just like, dude, we did it. And I don't think there's any greater experience of like brotherly camaraderie of accomplishment than that.
Wow, so amazing. Someone just asked very briefly, what unit were you in, or what was your combat specialty? Just to give a little bit more context.
Sure. So I was in what's called was in what's called Netzach Yehuda. It was a Haredi unit technically, so it was supposed to be for ultra Orthodox. So I happened to be a very, very religious young boy. So I really wanted to be with these kind of people. So it was a very unique combat unit in the sense that they also we learned Bible for a full hour every single day. We prayed 3 times a day. The whole unit. It was a very, very special thing to be a part of. And my specific specialty, I was what's called a squad commander. So I was in charge of like 4 other soldiers. And like whenever we did missions or training or things like that, like, we would kind of separate into our groups, and I would, depending on the mission, let's say it was like taking over a house. So I would be in charge of 3 or 4 other people. They would come with me. I would give the commands, and I would like be on the radio with the other commander. And then, we would accomplish whatever it was that we were doing. That was my job, I guess.
Okay. Wow. Amazing. Give us, if you have kind of, one brief, maybe Bible teaching that you can share with us, and just as we wrap up, we'll bring on Noach after this. But if you have one small thing which really inspires you, that you can share.
I have to think about this. I'll say that I've now I'm turning 40, right? So we're talking about I served when I was like 20. It was 20 years ago. Now I'm in reserves unit, and I'm in a completely different unit. But I think something that really I'm proud of to be serving in the IDF is a lot of the haters always say how, like, we're the worst people on earth, right? And obviously it's lies, and they need to lie because they can't, because they hate themselves probably. But the IDF is without a doubt the most moral thing, the most moral army, which doesn't make sense on planet Earth. That something that just happened to me recently in Gaza. I came out of Gaza in May. I'm going back in 2 weeks. But during that station when we were there, Hamas had sent a 3-year-old boy to try to test us if we would shoot him. And I'm sure they were like, filming it and seeing, and this isn't a dead zone. You can't come near an IDF army base in Gaza. It's an automatic. You're in that area. It's a kill zone. And so they want to test. They sent a 3-year-old at 2 a.m, right? Because they're sick. These are the worst people on earth. And it was not even a question. We're not killing a 3-year-old. Like, that's not, we don't do that. We're not bloodthirsty. We're not disgusting human beings. And so we took this kid in and took care of him and fed him. And I hope he made him back to his family. But like, it was just such a humbling experience, because as a soldier, on the one hand, you're a trained killer. Like, that is your job. Your job is to kill the enemy. On the other hand, like, I think we have a deep appreciation for life itself, and our job here is just to get rid of the enemy. And like, all we want to do is, go back home. So that's my inspirational story, anecdote, I should say, for everyone. I hope that's something.
Wow, Morty, thank you so much for your service, for continuing to be an inspiration, for helping with everything with regard to Lev L'Chayal. I know how much the guys love you, and just seeing this program. Obviously, we've been tag teaming on it for a long time, and just to see it grow. Obviously, you very involved. Me, I tag team by just watching from the stands, but really so proud of you and so proud of everything that the program has accomplished. And thankfully, we have so many people here to support, that love and support everything that you guys are doing. So God should continue to bless all of your efforts with the guys, and to keep you safe. And
amen. And thank you so much for this platform. I really appreciate this opportunity to share a story and share about the program of what we're able to keep doing.
So thank you so much, and God bless. And we'll say a prayer at the end for all of the IDF soldiers, and have you in mind as you head back into Gaza in the next couple of weeks.
Thank you, Rami.
Wonderful. So we will now call up Noach Nuremberg, who has been part of this program, and just to share a couple of words with us about what it's like from his perspective. Noach is really an inspiration. As someone who, something I just want to kind of lay the foundation, lay the stage a little bit that Morty mentioned. Israel was really founded on an anti-religious kind of socialist underpinnings, and that was kind of the very beginning of the state. Much of what happened here and kind of where we are today was the kind of secular underpinning. As the country continues to move, there's a feeling and a spirit of God that has continued to inspire the army, to inspire the people. The country continues to move more to the right, both religiously and politically. And we have more soldiers that are fighting in God's army, and not just the I'm going to say the state of Israel's army, but really like with that sense of purpose. So Noach learns in the yeshiva, and he's somebody who spends his days studying Bible, days and nights studying Bible, studying the Talmud. Really is an inspiration, someone that I look to, to inspire me. But it doesn't just stop there at, okay, I'm just going to sit over the books and study God's word all day, but it actually comes to living it. And Noach has had that opportunity. So I'd love to hear a couple of minutes about some of the challenges and opportunities, maybe that faith within your army service, maybe a little bit the background of of your story. So maybe let's where are you from? Sure. Where are you up to now?
Thank you so much, Rabbi Rami, for inviting me, and thank you for the community for giving an ear and the support, and of course to Morty. That was it's always inspiring to hear from you. Yeah, so I'm so excited to be here and be talking about it. I grew up in New York. Um, I thank God I grew up in a religious Zionist environment. I was in a Jewish religious high school, middle school, and high school, and lower school. And I wasn't always so interested in learning the Torah and connecting to religion and connecting to God. But I knew it was important that after my 12th grade year, I would come to Israel and at least spend some time. So I came to Israel, and I immediately fell in love with the land, with the Jewish people, with the Torah, with the Word of God, and I was so grasped by the realization that we, as the Jewish people returning to the land of Israel, are fulfilling the age-old prophecy of that has kept us going so strong and that has stuck with us. The prophecies of certainly of Isaiah, of Jeremiah, of all of the other prophets, that the Jewish people, no matter how many pogroms and destructions of temples and inquisitions and holocausts, we will make it back to the land of Israel, and we will create a godly place and a godly land. So, like you said, my inspiration was the pasuk, was the verse in the Tanakh, in the Torah, that and you shall have a holy war camp. So that was I felt like that was speaking to me, that I would go and join the army and defend the Jewish people along with other religious Jews, and I would be there. I would be praying, and I would be learning Torah, and I would be helping others also grow. I've had many opportunities to help non-religious Jews connect to God and their tradition, to put tefillin on them, phylacteries, and to speak about God and prayer. And like you mentioned, it certainly does get tough. And for my inspiration, challenges of faith, you might call it. But my inspiration was always that I'm a student of King David. I'm a student of the psalmist King David, and you look through Psalms, all of King David's life, he was so close with God and he was so beautifully expressive about God. And so many of those psalms are written in times of distress and times of despair. And he says, God, where are you? I can't find you amidst this war, amidst this blood. But at the end of the day, that's King David's essence, that he understood that his mission was to bring good into the world, and to bring good. Ovei Hashem sinura, those who love God, they hate evil. It's only natural. So King David, like you mentioned at the beginning, we live only a few minutes away from the battle against Goliath. The Goliath comes out and blasphemes the name of God, and King David, from shepherding the sheep, gets up from writing his psalms and playing his harp and singing beautiful songs to God. He gets up and says, "I know what needs to be done." And he had to put down the harp and put down the psalms and pick up the slingshot and do what needed to be done. So that whenever I felt like long nights of difficulty and long nights of sleepless nights, and like Morty so beautifully and graphically mentioned, of the Alamka, the stretcher on our shoulder with unbelievable weight on our backs, that the next morning, how do you get up and pray? That's exactly what King David was found difficult, that it's hard through the sweat and the blood and the tears. So that was always my inspiration, that let's go, King David, 45, 50 minutes prayer, and then let's get to sleep. So that was always my inspiration, being a student of King David.
Wow, that's amazing. Do you have kind of one operation that stands out? Something that you're up all night, you're doing something really particularly difficult, and that sticks with you.
Really, fortunately, and thank God, I've not been in a particularly life-threatening decision. The times that I've been close to Gaza, I've only been on the border, doing a border patrol in and out. But I never had anything life-threatening. But it doesn't need to get to life-threatening to recognize the hand of God in our service, in our lives. So like I mentioned, I was always grasped by the ingathering of the exiles, that I would be standing in any given place, with other Jews, a Jew from Yemen and a Jew from Morocco and a Jew from Russia and a Jew from Tunisia and myself from America, that we all are the living ingathering of the exiles. That has just living in that presence has been seeing the hand of Hashem. And my opportunity to come back after I'm the first one of my direct line since the destruction of the temple to come back and build a home and family in Israel. That always was the hand of God to me.
Wow, that certainly certainly is amazing, and it's just amazing the way that you put that you're the first in your family to come back to Israel after this. I was actually just studying Jeremiah 32, and where he talks about the return of the exile to the land of Israel, even though it's going to take a long time. That it's going to happen. As a lone soldier, what were some of the particular difficulties that you had, and that that we heard a little bit from Morty, but that you had, and that you felt that Lev L'Chayal helped you, and you're now able to help others within the program.
Right. So, like Morty mentioned, Morty drafted 20 years ago from Lev Torah, and he was really, really lone. So by the time it got to me, I drafted 6 years ago already. It wasn't such a lone program. Of course, it really is. It's a lot to be without my parents and direct family. But I drafted with Lev Torah, through Lev Torah, and I was through my army service, I lived close to the yeshiva, close to the main Beit Midrash, the main place of study. So I would come back home, and on a Friday, I'd come back home sometimes waking up at 3-4 in the morning to get on our bus from way down south, a 4-hour drive back to Beit Shemesh. I'd come back home, pray, shower, change my clothes, and get right to the study hall, get right to the base medrash, and be learning Talmud, be learning the weekly Torah portion, and then going into Friday night, we would celebrate Shabbat along with all the other soldiers that were back, and I would always be set up like Morty so mentioned. I would always be set up with Aim Av and Aim Bayit, the mother and fathers that are set up from us, people around the community, and my rabbis that inspired me in my learning. I would just go. I would also go right to them and continue to do Shabbat meals with them. So thank God, I really always had it set up, and thanks to Lev Torah, and thanks to God who brought this all together. I never really felt in a bad place. I always had Lev Torah always had my back, and everyone always had my back. So, and then now actually I after I finished the army, I came back to Lev Torah to continue studying and go on my path to becoming a rabbi. I fell in love with teaching Torah already a few years ago, a year or two before my draft. I had fell in love with teaching Torah, and so I went back to Lev Torah, and now I'm in the rabbi's track of Lev Torah, and I have the boys over for Shabbat meals, just like my rabbis had me over for Shabbat meals. So. And on Shabbatot, when the soldiers are off, they always feel free to ask to come over and spend time with me, whether it be a regular Thursday night or whether it be a meal for a Shabbat meal. So not only the soldiers, and also the current students at Lev Torah, I'm able to give over to them and help them grow and find their journey as future Jews of Israel, and help them set up a life here. And thank God, of course, to my wife, who makes amazing food, amazing chicken soup, and Shabbos day cholent, and all other good traditional Jewish foods. And she's a real righteous figure in my life.
Right, and unbelievable. We'll start to come to the end. If you have one specific Bible teaching that inspires you, you mentioned one verse, but is there one teaching, a brief teaching that you could share with us that you think of when you either have to go out to war, or just kind of the program in general?
Sure. So one thing that I always think of, right? I said the stories of King David and the inspiration as a student of King David myself. But even before that, of course, King David is a relatively later member of the Jewish people when you relate him to our earliest forefathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So in one of our first introductions to Abraham is that he is tasked with his nephew who he adopted. The Torah tells the story of that his brother, Abraham's brother, had passed away, and his brother left over orphans. So Abraham took in Lot as a son, and there was a battle in the region between the 5 kings and the 4 kings. And the 4 kings were so strong that they had beat out the 5 kings, and in the process they had abducted Lot. They had taken him hostage. So the Torah tells the story of Abraham teaching, gathering, and giving weapons and taking hold of him and his students. Right, Abraham was the one to bring monotheism to the world, to teach about the one God. He was the teacher. He was the spiritualist. He was bringing God into the world. But what did he do? He understood that bringing God into the world is not just meditating on a mountaintop. Bringing God into the world is acting. So Abraham got up and he got his students together, and he said, we need to act for good. His nephew Lot was abducted by the 4 kings, so he got up and he fought against the 4 kings, and he won that war with the help of God. So that certainly is an inspiration for me, knowing that I myself am a student of the Talmud and a student of the Bible, and certainly a student of my rabbis and my tradition. And I know that when God tells me it's time to put down the books and pick up the guns, that we go out and do it, because that's the right thing.
Wow. Thank you so much, Noach, for your time, your inspiration, and keep continuing to inspire the next generation. And as we mentioned, Noach is only able to do his work and to inspire the next generation of soldiers because we're all here supporting and doing our part. So thank you so much for your words, and God should continue to bless and direct you in the right way.
Amen.
So what I'd like to do now is to just to share a video. Hopefully you guys will all be able to see it. And this is a little bit more about the Lev L'Chayal program. So just to give everyone a sense. And as I mentioned, you can all donate. There is a link in the bottom left corner for everybody. So let's see if this works.
We're just like you. We all went to Israel for the year. We were all active members of our communities back home. The one difference is, in 4 months, we'll be given a beret, a uniform, and a pair of boots, and we'll be drafting to the Israeli army.
Go! You can do it, guys! Let's go! Come on!
One, two.
Lev L'Chayal is an incredible program. At the same time as they are preparing us physically,
they're also preparing us mentally with classes on what to expect.
Additionally, we learn halakha on issues we may encounter during our service.
As they're helping us with the paperwork and bureaucracy for the army,
we are in a true yeshiva environment.
We get to build connections with Rebbeim, learn in a shir with the rest of the yeshiva, and maintain friendships with the Shana Aleph and Shana Bet students.
There really isn't any other program for lone soldiers like it.
With all of these great aspects, it's a fast-growing program. 4 years ago, we had less than 5 people.
This year, we have 16 soldiers drafting to both combat and non-combat positions.
in addition to those currently in the Army.
Levi Chayal's training program helped me go from thinking I would not get past basic training to thinking that I can do anything.
I'm really happy with joining Levi Chayal. I don't think there's any better way I could have done it.
I feel like I have my family here.
Levi Chayal's program is the best program for religious learning soldiers.
Joining Levi Chayal was one of the best decisions I've made.
It's so inspiring. I mean, I find what they are doing and what these kids continue to do. I want to bring on one more person. 1 second. Let me see. Here we go. We're going to bring on John over here to also give some testimony, speak to us about his experience as a lone soldier. And so happy that John, you were able to join us today, and just to hear about what it's been like as a lone soldier, a little bit about what you've done, some of the underbelly of the IDF, some of the challenges and opportunities that you've experienced. So please.
Thanks for having me on. So I was drafted in 2018. I was part of the Levi Chayal program, and then I actually had a lot of difficulty with Hebrew. So I had to go to the Michveh Alon program. So I actually had to kind of separate myself from the Levi Chayal program to do that. And then from Michveh Alon, which is this Army Hebrew training base, I went from there to tanks, and I was a loader in the Shiryon tank unit in 188. What was the other part of your question?
Just give us a bit about some of the challenges and opportunities that you've had
Sure.
within the Army.
Within the Army. The Army is hard. The Army is a really, really difficult place. Like any military, a lot of times we have a concept in the Army called being a shokis, being like in shock, where like things are happening around you and you just actually have no idea what's going on. You don't know the terminology, and especially in a different language, it's like the most like I am a bright-eyed American boy in just a carnival of words. I don't know what is happening.
Not only that, in the Army, everything is acronyms, right? It's not even.
It's not even regular Hebrew. It's Army Hebrew, which is its own like everything is like aleph bet to mean something else that I've never even heard of that word before, so I have no context. That's hard. I actually think my own journey was one, Morty kind of touched on this, but one, there is quite an amount of loneliness, I think, that you can face in the Army. I think there are times where it feels really like it's you against a mountain of challenges that you are insecure about whether or not you can even face or really accomplish. I remember that I was in my boot camp in my basic training, and I was maybe like 8 weeks in, and I was like at the end of my rope. I was at the point where I'm like, okay, I don't think I'm going to be able to finish this. I don't feel like I'm in shape enough. I don't feel like I'm smart enough. I don't feel like I'm capable. And I'm going to shout out to my brother-in-law right now, who I'll also mention in a little bit. My brother-in-law was this bigger guy in the Army, and he gave me some really sage advice, which was that like, you're going to drown. Just so you know, you are drowning because you are, and you need to drown. And once you're finished drowning, you can then step out of that and kind of come out of it like a new man. And I had to go through that. I had to kind of like tear myself apart so I can come out of it with like new skin and new muscle. But it's hard. It's really hard. You're 18 or 19 and you are just feeling the edges of your own ability and weaknesses and kind of facing yourself on that.
And what is that experience then coming out of that? Meaning, are you this now butterfly, like kind of after the cocoon, and like you can now fly?
It's a good question. Definitely a tested and ironclad person. I think going through anything that's hard, and to quote Kelly Clarkson, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. it makes you mentally much stronger. And I actually will say for a developing teen or boy who's trying to learn how to be a man, it's probably going to the Army in that aspect was probably one of the best decisions I ever made, of just pushing myself to a limit I didn't think I could push and seeing myself accomplish that, and having the evidence that I could accomplish something like that, I think was more life-changing than anything else I did in the Army.
And now you feel much more that you're able to. What are you doing now? Are you?
So right now I'm living in Tel Aviv. I work in product development. I studied at IDC, which is a college in Herzliya. I was in the Lev L'Chayal program. I actually was a madrich at Lev after my Army service.
A madrich is a counselor or an advisor. Yeah.
And I think, living in Israel is like a whirlwind, and it will take you to so many different places, and you'll become so many different versions of yourself. And my starting place for that was Lev Torah and Lev L'Chayal.
Right. As starting. Have you been called into service since then, Miluim?
So I actually am not in Miluim. I had the option to go back, but I think for me and my family, the decision that I made was to not return and do other things that were helpful in other ways. Right. Which on its own, actually, it's funny to say this, not going back is also hard, because you're watching a lot of your friends go back, people who get hurt. And there is a difficulty in being kind of someone who's like, I'm doing other things, but I'm on the side. And it is its own difficulty to not be in.
Right.
Yeah.
To not be. What was like, a real high point that you took out of the program, out of the service that you were in?
I think it's similar to what I just said about kind of, watching myself deal with challenges, and, more often than not, some of them totally bombing and failing them. And then knowing that like every time you fall, you're the only one who's going to pick yourself up, is a really powerful sentiment to kind of carry with you, especially when you're learning that at such a young age. I'd say, honestly, my favorite moment of the Army was when I finished. I think I was at that point where I was like, I'm so glad I did this. This was so incredibly hard, and I'm so thankful for the support that I had to get through it. And I think for me, the objective was, I want to prove to myself that I can do this.
Right. Amazing. Wow. I mean, so crazy just to hear, but the challenges, but it sounds like you had that support in Lev Torah and Lev L'Chayal. So happy that you had that experience. Any final kind of points to leave us with, and we'll move on.
I guess it's kind of like, for anyone who's going to be coming to this program, these are boys who are learning how to become men. And I think one of these things is having a support system, having your friends who then become your brothers, or even mentor figures like Morty Rapp, for example, who was on here, was actually my Av Bayit. He was like my person in charge of me, was someone who has like influenced me throughout my life and has been a real like mentor for me. Not everyone comes from a place where they have people like that, those role models. And I think being able to just be someone who, whether or not you're religious, whether or not you're connecting to that, just being in a place where you're accepted and cared about, and people are really ensuring that like you're going to be okay while you're going through something really trying, is priceless.
Wow. Amazing. John, thank you so much for joining us today. God should continue to bless everything that you're doing. And just being here as part of the country and the future of the Jewish people is just an amazing thing. And we also need the economy to be strong. So continue.
I'll tell you what, I'll try my best
in that area. Thank you. All the best.
Thank you.
So I had the opportunity to enlist in the IDF, and I just want to share a picture over here from earlier today. If hopefully I can share my screen. See if this entire screen. So this was, if everyone could see, this was the swearing-in ceremony earlier today, where I was given a Bible and I was saluted by my my commander, and then we took our oath, and it was just an incredible situation. I am 45, despite the fact that I look a lot younger, and people think that I'm younger. My kids are getting ready to go to the Army. Usually, it's not someone at this age, and I really did it. Thank you, Deborah. Yeah, my wife doesn't always love it when when people tell me I look so young, but it gave me a real new appreciation for what these kids are doing and what they're going through. And just the way it works is a program called Shlavbet. Shlavbet means second chance. And it's for somebody who didn't enter the Army the first time around. I made Aliyah 19 years ago, and I was here in Israel, and I got my exemption card. I was 26 years old. I had 2 kids at that time, and I got an exemption card. And I've always joked throughout the years, I've never felt like such a freeloader, that I'm here and I never did my service. And this was an opportunity to go ahead and to be part of what's going on. And I knew I wasn't going combat. That wasn't going to happen. What these guys are doing. So they have a shortened service. It's 2 weeks to go through basic training. And then I can go ahead and do some sort of combat support, which is whether it's fixing tanks or fixing Hummers. We're still waiting to hear kind of what the next step is. But to see the inside of what's going on, how hard these people are working. We happen to have been on a base that they have everything, meaning the food there is incredible. It's the largest base in Israel. It's called Ir Habadim, and the beds, the dormitories are really relatively nice. And one day when we went out shooting, they gave us what are called manot krav, which are like battle meals, just to add water type of thing. And you got a sense that this is what these guys are eating day in and day out for months on end. And here I am, like, sleeping at something relatively nice, but like kind of getting a little bit of like a taste about what they are doing and what they are giving up and what they are representing within this country. And it just gave me such hope and such pride. I'll share just my commander, not the one that is saluting me over here. If you could look right over my head is the red beret. It's my commander, Avner. He's an older guy, 63 years old, and he keeps doing this. And he says, ultimately, we need to do something. We all need to do something. And what happened was, come October 7th, he had 5 kids run to the front lines. And this is someone who fought in the first Lebanon War in 82. That was really his battle. And he told us about it today. It was mind-blowing. You cannot understand what these people go through. And what he said to us on October 7th, he ran down to Sderot and he started helping old people wash themselves and clean themselves. And in any way, he said, we have to do something. If there is a hole, we have to go ahead and we have to fill it. And it's just something that, where is that hole? Where is that opportunity? And that's something that I ask myself, and I often say to myself, I want to be part of the solution. I want to be somebody who is there giving, is looking for that opportunity, not complaining, not finding areas where things that we can't or shouldn't, but be part of the solution. And so this was like an opportunity to be part of the solution. One of the themes that we've heard quite a bit today about being part of King David's army. And as Morty mentioned earlier, that there was times to learn. So we had times to learn, but I'm an old guy. I get tired. We're getting up at 5 a.m. And I dozed off over the book that I was studying. And my commander came over to me and he woke me up and gave me a look. He said, what is this? Like, we're not just expected to be on the battlefield and to be fighting, but we're also expected to be studying, and we're expected to be this soldier in King David's army. And that's something where it was really just unbelievable. I'll never forget that look that he had. Like, you're expected to be learning right now. That's also part of serving God and serving the army. And if you're not going to do that, we'll find somebody else that can. And So that was really just something that was really really amazing. I want to share one quick Bible teaching, and then we will end off with the Hatikva from this ceremony. We'll say a prayer for our soldiers, and we'll end off with the Hatikva and go from there. So Jacob meets his brother Esau, and Jacob does three things. He sends gifts, he prays, and he prepares for war. And all of these are what we need to be doing. We need to have action. What is the action? The action is, okay, we leave it to the politicians as far as sending gifts and trying to come up with different ways to connect, right? With different ways to, should we sign this treaty or that thing? Okay, I'll leave that to the politicians. What can I do? I can pray. And we're going to pray here together in just a moment. And the other thing he did was he prepared for war. So yes, we're prepared for war. Right now, it's a little bit of a lull in the action. But as we know from history, it won't last long. But we need to be going ahead and doing these things. We need to be praying. We need to be preparing for war. What does it mean to be preparing for war? So, okay, so I drafted. What does it mean for you? It means figuring out a way to go ahead and support our holy soldiers over here. It means praying for them. It means finding opportunities. Someone, I'm not sure if she's on the call today, but someone has a certain company that they have chapstick, and I use that chapstick. And she said to me, "Can I send you, a couple of hundred rolls of chapstick for your platoon?" So that's something. Okay, that's something small. Okay, where is it that I can add in and do something? So it's really, really all part of everything that is going on, and we need to be on wherever we are within the process. I wanted to so let's pray, and then we'll end off with the Hatikva, a prayer for the protection and the victory of the Israel Defense Forces. And let's keep in mind our soldiers in Lev L'Chayal, and let's go and all the soldiers that are out there on the front line. He who blesses our forefather Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, may he bless the fighters of the Israel Defense Forces who stand guard over our land and the cities of our God, from the borders of the Lebanon to the desert of Egypt, from the great sea unto the approach of the Arava, on land, in air, and on the sea. May the Almighty cause the enemies who rise up against us to be struck down before them. May the Holy One, blessed be He, rescue our fighters from every trouble and distress, from every plague and illness. May He send blessing and success in their every endeavor. May He lead our enemies under our soldiers' sway, and may He grant them salvation and crown them with victory. It will be fulfilled from them, for them, the verse, for it is the Lord your God who goes out with you to do battle with you, to battle your enemies for you, to save you. Let us say amen. We'll now say the Hatikva as we end, and this was the Hatikva at my closing ceremony earlier today. Thank you, everyone, for joining. As I mentioned, there is a donate button on the screen. Please donate generously. It's so important that we continue to help support our soldiers, particularly our lone soldiers. I see that we've had quite a few people who have already donated. The donation link will appear on your screen as soon as I close. And I ask everybody, in whatever amount that you're able to do, it shows the support, it shows the love. And if there are people who would like to send letters to our soldiers, I'm happy to deliver them. You can send it to me at Rami, R-A-M-I, at Israel365.com. Again, that's Rami, R-A-M-I, at Israel365.com. And I will deliver the letters to our soldiers. And if you'd like to be in touch with any of the people who have spoken or would like to pass a letter or a note on to them, I'm happy to connect you. So thank you, everybody, for joining me from, I'm going to say this evening here, but I know it's morning in some places, and I know it's in the middle of the night in other places. So thank you, everyone, so much for joining. All the best, and God bless.